in geometry, there is a term that means same measure or equal, which is congruent. Has anybody heard that term? And that just, for some reason, that is just as it pertains to geometry. And instead of putting an equal sign, you put an equal sign with a little tilde on top, like a little curly Q on top, okay? And that means congruent. So whenever you see tick marks, this tick mark right here means that FE is congruent to ED. So if we look at that picture, there's a 1 tick mark, but there's also these 2 tick marks. That means that BE is congruent to who?
BE is congruent to
CD, but they all are not congruent to each other necessarily, okay? If you use a second tick mark, and you could use even a third tick mark if you needed to, then that means that they're not all congruent to each other. The 1s are congruent to the 1s, the 2s are congruent to the 2s, the 3s are congruent to the 3s, okay? So over here,
Did you just come up with
if this picture here had a tick mark here and a tick mark here, all you would know is that AB is congruent to BC. But you still don't know that's a right angle unless this little square is in the corner, okay? So that square is right here and here. Let's talk about the little square. This guy here and this guy here. It concludes 2 things when you see that square. It concludes that it's a right angle. It also concludes that the 2 lines are perpendicular, okay? So that's, you can say BE is perpendicular to FD, and angle BED is 90 degrees or right. See how I'm making conclusions based on the markings? Same with the arrow. The arrow is here and here, and here there's 1 arrow and 1 arrow, and 2 arrows and 2 arrows. This equals this, equals this, equals this. The 4 sides are equal. It's a square, okay? And that's a right angle also. You have to have that to know it's a square, okay? So that's a square. But what do you know about opposite sides of a square? Those arrows mean that in this case, over here, let's change the color. AC is parallel, remember I said it was a tall 11, to FD. Okay? This line here.
why do you have a continuum?
Over here, why do I use 2 arrows on one pair and 1 arrow on the other pair? So if you have an angle like this and one like this, and we have A, B, C, D, and they want you to show angle BDC, you go from B to C, and all this is going to highlight, and then you submit it, because that would be BDC.